Good afternoon, fellow water polo colleagues. I feel privileged to be honored today and included with such great athletes, coaches, and referees who paved the way for me. I'm honored to be among the greats of Coralie Simmons, Nicole Payne, Peter Morales, and Ron Richardson. I had the privilege of traveling with Coralie, Nicole, and Peter on national team trips and found them to be amazing people as well as athletes. You guys were always friendly to me, even though I was the ref. Ron, I met you long ago in the 80s when I ref zones and nationals up in NorCals. You're a legendary coach. Congratulations to all of you for your induction to the Hall of Fame today. I'd like to start off by thanking my wife, Hermie, and my daughter, Kaya, for coming from Hawaii to support me today. I love you both. Some of my Santa Barbara teammates and good friends are here. Russ Afrikamp, Dave Hendrickson, Greg Boyer, who nominated me for the Hall of Fame. Thank you, Greg. And your wife, Rini. And John Fern, former players of mine and good friends from Yale Line School, Mark Heenan, Greg Okasik. And from Polo School, Ken Smith, my high school coach, Mark Moretsky, Scott Turner are here. And from Corona Del Mar High School, Christina Huco and her husband, Walter. Thank you for being here today to support me. I'm very grateful for your presence and friendship. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine I'd be inducted into the USA Water Polo Hall of Fame. I was just a little naive kid from Hawaii that played on my varsity high school team for 2 years and was not even a starter until my senior year. I was chosen as a top 10 player my senior year, which really meant nothing in the wide world of water polo, which I knew nothing about except for what I read in Water Polo Scoreboard. This became very clear to me when I first set foot on the deck at UCSB and heard all the accolades that my fellow freshmen had earned. Being a top 10 player meant nothing. The only reason I was at UCSB was because my high school coach, Ken Smith, and UCSB coach, Dante Dedamonte, rest in peace, Dante, were close friends, having worked together as assistant coaches under Bob Horn at UCLA. Dante stepped up for me and worked hard to get admissions to admit me to UCSB. And my parents didn't have to donate any money either. I was an average student at Punahou, meaning my transcripts did not meet the normal criteria for acceptance to Santa Barbara. Dante went out on a limb to give me a chance, so I owe much to him, because none of this success would have been possible and would have occurred without him. There I was at UCSB, a place where some of my teammates back home told me I had no chance of making it. A quick funny story while I was at UCSB. I know, Russ, Henny, Greg, and Ferndog, you're probably thinking, which one? There's so many. As a freshman, I played on the JV team, which now you're thinking, he must have been pretty shitty. But so did Greg Boyer, and he played in the Olympics, and he's a Hall of Famer too. So it wasn't that bad. Anyways, back to the story. Greg and I played JV, and our coach was Russ Afrikamp, who had just transferred from San Diego State and was redshirting. In a game against Ventura College of Ventura, Russ walked down the bench, reached down, grabbed me by the hair, which is a lot longer than it is now, sticking out of the back of my cap, lifted me off the bench, dragged me over to the table, pushed me down and yelled, "You have 2 minutes to do something or you're coming out." I was traumatized after having a mild-mannered high school coach in Ken. That story was famous for years, but more importantly, Russ, you stood up for me as a player when I was replaced on the team by a newcomer when we were to travel to nationals up north. You went to the coach, not Dante, and expressed your dissatisfaction with the decision. I'll never forget your support of me at that time. You were a coach and saw things in me that I appreciated and still do. Fast forward 5 years later, I was one of 3 freshmen who persevered and made it all the way through to win a national championship in 1979. Dante, Ken, and my teammates were responsible for that achievement. My success as a referee was due to a number of people. Russ Afrikamp being the first for getting me into the Hein Wells tournament, because that's where he worked and that was where the tournament was. Only the 4 best men's club teams played in it, and there were only 4 referees. I was the newcomer refed alongside legends like John Felix, Bob Lee, and Bill Frady. Years later, I came to realize I was so fortunate to have great mentors like them and others like Brett Bernard, Andy Takata, Gary Robinette, Terry Saring, and Tom Hermstead. I studied and took something from each of them to develop my own character and style. Terry and Brett mentored me, but Brett was my biggest supporter as I came up through the ranks domestically. I worked to emulate him. Bill Frady, as a member of the TWPC, was my mentor and supporter on the international level. However, the man I owe most so much of my international success to is a referee from Turkey named Erhan Tolga. He was one of the top referees in the world when I started. We worked a women's tournament in 1999 together, and I was having some struggles. He saw this, took me under his wing, and gave me positive support and guidance that helped me through the tournament. He became my mentor for the next 9 years. I spent hours watching games with him, studying players and the way they played, analyzing strategies exhibited by the different teams, and interpretations by the referees. We would discuss their calls and no calls. Erhan even came to watch my games and gave me feedback afterwards. Like Brett, I listened to his critiques, studied his style, techniques, and skills. He was the master. I was the grasshopper. Erhan was responsible for nearly all of my success as a referee on the international level. I knew I had graduated to master status when I was selected to referee semifinal and final matches with him or Boris Margetta, another top referee in the World Championships and Olympics. I could not have asked for a better teacher, role model, and supporter who became a genuine friend. My success as a coach was also due to several people. Being a student of the game, I took time to listen, observe, study, and talk with coaches whom I admired and respected. These people whom I drew the most were from John Vargas, Guy Baker, and Ratko Rudic, whom I traveled with extensively on national team trips, and Bill Barnett, who I coached against for 10 years. Adam Krikorian, you're still under review. You haven't proved yourself yet. These guys have sharpened my knowledge of the X's and O's of the game. But Dante Dedamonte and my high school coach, Ken Smith, taught me that coaching was far more than just the X's and O's. I saw a passion in the two of them that was loud and clear that I'll touch upon in a minute. So the real reason I'm standing here today in front of you with all the success I've garnered as a player, coach, and referee is all due to one person whom I mentioned a few times, Ken Smith. Raise your hand, Ken. Ken was in the video. Ken was my coach at Polo from the 8th grade through high school. He was my big brother I never had. He was the one who suggested as a junior that I play water polo in college, which I'd never entered my mind. He believed in me, taught me to be confident in myself as a player, and made me feel special, like he has done with countless other athletes, both boys and girls. In his 50 years of coaching, and still counting, he suggested UCSB because he knew Dante. But his support of me goes much deeper than that. He was responsible for getting me into coaching at the rival school, which I did not want to do unless he and I coached together in the summers, combining our two teams. This is where I truly learned to coach. He taught me the importance of fundamentals, making practices challenging yet enjoyable for the players, and most of all, how to make connections with the players that would last a lifetime. He showed me how to coach. He showed me how a coach truly cares about his or her athletes and how they can make a difference in their lives. He did that for me and countless others. Just ask anyone who's ever played for him. Ken and I drove to and from practice together in my early years and sat in the car for an hour after talking about coaching, much of it about managing practices, teaching fundamentals, and connecting with players. During the fall or high school season, we were rivals. In the summers, we were friends. Working with him and against him taught me so much. I was only able to win 3 championships coaching against him. But at CDM, we won 5 CIF championships, 2 runner-up finishes, and 2 top 4 finishes in Junior Olympics because of what I learned coaching with and against him. While at CDM, people would ask me what I attributed my success to, probably because I was this no-name coach from Hawaii. I told him it was due to my high school coach and mentor, Ken Smith. I called him at least twice a week for advice, but he always gave me more than that. The encouragement and support were always attached. He always believed in me and still does. Just recently, he asked me to coach the Polo girls team with him starting this summer and continuing into next season. This will be my final chapter in coaching, and I cannot think of a better person to start and end a career with. Ken, thank you for being my biggest and most long-standing supporter and mentor. None of this would have been possible without your guidance, support, wisdom, and care for me as a player, coach, and person. I can never repay you for what you've given me. Thank you.